Well, now for something completely different. I want to follow up on what Michael Goldberg said about how we don't want to have just a beautiful city. Well, I also think we don't want to just have a beautiful city. We want to have actually a city where our children could continue to live. And that's what I'm going to be talking about. So what I'm talking about is housing justice, which is the socially and environmentally fair and just distribution of housing benefits in a society. It's critical because people have to be really safely, adequately, and affordably housed in order to be able to be living a full life. My thinking on this has evolved in conversations with my husband, Howard Rotberg, who is a developer of affordable rental housing and a writer. And we've discussed this many times, why he only builds in Ontario, even though he lives here, because he can use in Ontario government programs that makes his projects feasible. So how can we determine what is just and fair? One way of doing this is by examining who is benefiting from government dollars and who is not. Who are the winners and losers in housing expenditures? In a society where there is housing justice, there would be a clear set of government programs, strategies, and tax incentives to encourage the delivery of affordable housing, and a fair allocation of benefits between different segments of the population. So let's see if that's the case in Vancouver. The city of Vancouver ranked as the third worst in the world for home ownership affordability in 2010, since it takes 9.5 times the median income to buy the median house. And this is even at the same time as we're ranked as the most livable place in the world. So who figures? Go figure. Vacancy rates are among the lowest in Canada, 2.7% in BC and 1.9% in Vancouver. The secondary market is the main source of new rental accommodation in Vancouver, with more than half of renters in secondary rental suites. There also are those who can't get into the housing market. A clear pattern emerges when we look at the concentration of where people live based on their professions in the Lower Mainland. There's no surprise that doctors live. There's the predominance of doctors who are living in the west side of Vancouver. But you may not know that over half of Metro Vancouver police, with an average before-tax income of $63,000 per year, live south of the Fraser River. 450 live in Langley Township. And that means only 1 in 10 police live in Vancouver, resulting in long commutes and the difficulty in recruiting in higher-priced communities. As well as, if there really is an emergency, we really would not be very well policed or have very many firemen around. So in this milieu, what impact is our housing policies having on our ability to ensure essential service workers, such as police, firemen, and nurses, are living in affordable housing close to their work? Let's look at some of the current set of housing programs offered by the provincial government. In the spring 2011 issue of West Coast Homes and Designs, 10 government programs are listed where homeowners and home buyers can qualify for grants or rebates. And I'm just going to mention a few. The BC Property Tax Deferment Program is said to allow seniors to age in place, but there's no means test required, so wealthy seniors can use this program. The program compensates municipalities for the loss of property taxes accrued by the seniors' deferral of taxes until after a house is sold. So who is benefiting from this program, and are the benefits fairly allocated across the society? The BC Homeowner Grant is another provincial government program that allows for a reduction of your property tax if you're a homeowner. But again, there's no means test. The threshold for eligibility for this grant has steadily increased to the current assessed property value of any properties under $1.15 million. People who are lucky enough to own houses in Vancouver often focus on not having their property taxes raised. It's really not understood, though, that the property taxes on a $1 million house in Vancouver are 40% less than the same valued house in Toronto. While there have been recent adjustments in the differential between commercial and residential property rates, is it fair and just that small business owners are subsidizing residential property taxes? If our society values supporting young families, what kind of housing support are they being given? The Provincial Rental Assistance Program provides eligible low-income working families with cash assistance to help with their monthly rent payments. While this is laudable, if there were more affordable rental housing being built, would it be necessary to subsidize renters to live in unaffordable units? Another example, the BC Property Transfer Tax First-Time Homebuyers Program gives a break for new home buyers, but only on units up to $425,000, which only helps buyers in Vancouver of one-bedroom condos and does nothing for young families. The City of Vancouver requires amenity spaces and sustainable building practices, including things like green roofs in new housing developments. So who bears those costs? While initially developers need to provide these features in their projects, these costs are just passed through onto the cost of the condos. Also, if every condo development is in an open-end negotiation for amenity and social housing contributions, does adding these costs to the price of one- and two-bedroom condos make sense? And is it fair for Vancouver's workforce, those in low to moderate income jobs? What are the incentives to keep affordable family housing? If an older four-bedroom house that is affordable is torn down for 3 or 4 high-end one- and two-bedroom units, shouldn't there be a substantial demolition tax imposed on the builders and buyers of these upscale units to fund new affordability housing rather than effectively negotiating such contributions from the developers of new condos? Canada is currently the only G8 country without a national housing plan. Bill C-304, which called for a national housing strategy to address Canada's housing crisis, was not completed before the recess for the recent federal election. What kind of housing plan do we need for Canada? Or even do we need a housing plan? We should start with a series of questions on our current policies and programs and evaluate them on the basis of justice and fairness. Who is paying and who's benefiting? Who are the dollars flowing to? If we're going to help certain demographics, do we need to do a means test? These, among others, are the questions we have to answer before we can establish just housing policies. But ultimately, really, it is the values we have as a society that is going to determine affordability for future generations. And it's really up to you to decide this. Thank you.